Hi everyone. I hope you're all well and that it is sunny and warm where you are. I am freezing. Now look, it's not my first winter in the Klein Karoo, far from it. So all I can think is that it must be old age. Now let's first touch on the elephant in the room. I'm sometimes saddened or even angered by the fact that some people make it a habit to kick me in the teeth whenever I mention King Charles or Catherine's health woes. But, our News 24 and IOL are sometimes more forthright and have some good to very good journalists who still do proper journalism, and often, if and when I have to rely on mainstream media for a talking point, I prefer IOL or News 24 as far as written or online media goes, and channels like Al Jazeera for television. It just is what it is. Sky News Australia is another favourite of mine. But I'm afraid that others are so full of tripe and lies and guesswork that I seldom turn to any of the others anymore. Anyway, as always, I digress. My point is that it appears that only Americans and the British are allowed to talk about the royal family and get away with it. Well, I think that is overall a very ignorant stance. South Africa was a British colony for many years. My paternal great-grandfather was Scottish, but came to South Africa on a ship in service of the Crown, and we are still part of the Commonwealth. Why, I don't know, but that is a discussion for another day or another channel. Anyway, I grew up learning about the British royal family. As a child, most of my relatives grew up English, although we grew up mainly Afrikaans because my mother was indeed very Afrikaans. But my father and my mother both barely ever read an Afrikaans book. My grandmother's favourite magazine was the British Women's Weekly. So we knew about who's who in the royal zoo from the day we could walk and talk, and therefore the royal family to me is a staple like milk and bread. Just like we have milk and bread in our house every day, we have the royal family in our home as a basic, a talking point, even if not always the main talking point. But, they are as common in my household as a common cold. At some point, we'll talk about the royals or a royal. Now, talking about the royals is totally impossible to do without talking about the head of the family, namely the king. So why do people get angry when I talk about him, saying things like, his health is none of your business? No, sorry, it is my business. I'm a royalist living in an ex-colony with extensive British history and which is currently a Commonwealth country. Can those who attack me all say the same? I have taught history for 4 years now, and I'm sure you do not want to hear about the annexation and the destruction of the Xhosa, Zulu and Pedi kingdoms by the British, or about the South African Boer War. But let's just say that my family and ancestors actually earned the right to speak on the British family, and with the media who are not part of the embargoes on certain topics like the British media, we sometimes hear a completely different spin on a topic than, say, my British friends and loved ones. And in this respect, I agree with Piers Morgan. I cannot see or understand why I cannot talk about a topic which maybe in our media and likely other European media outlets just because the British media are either prohibited from revealing something or talking about something, or they feel a certain loyalty to the crown or, say, the king himself. So that said, I do see that our media is reporting slightly differently on the king's health. It is said, and yes, I saw this in some British publications as well, so it's not just our media spinning a tale. Anyway, it is said that King Charles received his cancer treatment the day before his D-Day speech, and in our media it is spelled out that his medical team, Camilla and William, were none too pleased with what the king had planned for the 80th anniversary of D-Day. And finally, they reached a sort of compromise where the king allowed William to take the lead in France, cutting his visit with all of 45 minutes. The king was scheduled to be at Omaha Beach, for instance, but allegedly there was a unanimous no way from everybody. And as you could see, William did that part and did it very well. One of my subs have a friend who lives in Windsor who has a family member who work for the royal family and who told her that the king is not doing as well as the palace and British media would like us to believe. She said that the talk is that the king is trying to emulate his mother who, as we know, worked until the day before the day she passed away. And she was told that this severely saddens and frustrates the king's doctors and Camilla, because after all, he is still much stronger than the Queen was at 96. And if he would listen and rest more and expose himself to the public or people less, his prognosis may improve significantly. My sub, who, like me, watched the proceedings on YouTube and television, pointed out to me that Camilla looked and acted very concerned about Charles at Portsmouth, and like me, she finds that Camilla's tears that day was likely not just due to the occasion, but also due to her frustration and concern for her husband. Someone else also pointed out to me that Camilla looked upset all the time they were in France. She may even have looked a little angry, and maybe that too was born out of frustration with a king who is not fully listening to or following the advice of his medical team. As most of you will know by now, Catherine did not attend the rehearsal of the Irish Guards for the Trooping the Colour, but she did send a message to them. It is also unlikely that she will appear on the Buckingham Palace balcony on the 15th. It is really so sad, and I was particularly sad to see William attend the wedding alone on Friday. The best I can get out of anyone about Catherine's health is that she's reacting well to treatment and that she is far more positive and settling in a little. And no, stop telling me to leave her alone. I am not harassing anyone. I'm not asking intrusive questions, just whether she is still okay, sending my love and prayers because I care. And yes, indeed, I am nobody. So I get the same reply as William gives when he's asked by a member of the public. But I'm sure that the friend in Windsor will know or hear if things are not going well or as well as we are hoping and praying for. So at this point, I have no reason not to believe that Catherine is making steady progress towards better health and hopefully a cure. As for the Montecito couple, we'll tackle them again during the week. But my friend in Australia sent me an article in which it states that Harry and Meghan are trying for a third baby, and that the good news that Harry got permission to appeal the outcome of the decision in his case against the state for med security. I honestly and truly wonder who granted him the permission to appeal and which honours this judge recently received or had been promised. Really, this is such a waste of the court's time and the state's money, and he should not be able to appeal. It is utter BS. Princess Anne, Edward and Sophie and their families do not have Met or royal security, only when they are at royal events. So why, pray tell, should Harry even be given the opportunity to appeal this again? As for a third child, I do not believe it. But if there is any truth in it, then my one and only question would be why? Why? The Sussexes are already getting so much flack for being away from the two children they already have, for the children not having proper paperwork, etc. So why would they want to do it all over again? I mean, really? Goodness, I mean, if you can't handle the two you have, why go for a third? Like my friend said, if Meghan continues this, she'll be propping up the moon bump with her walking stick soon. All I can say is that I hope it is just a fabrication by some silly publication. Anyway, guys, I'm in the process of touching base with friends, foes, and contributors. So hopefully I'll bring you some brand new, fresh, and juicy stories in the coming week. So until we meet again on the next one, please take good care of yourselves. Bye.